Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Men of Abundance with Wally Carmichael. You must be prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What is going on, all of you amazing, abundant leaders out there? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community, proving to you that you can, in fact, live a life of abundance in family, faith, finances, and fitness. Now, this is episode 300 of the Men of Abundance podcast, which is extremely significant. Now, I don't know if many of you know this or not, but most podcasts to get started, and at this point, there's hundreds of thousands, I think in 600,000 or 700,000 podcasts or more that have started. And when I first got started, there was about average, they were saying, depending on who you talk to, about 300,000 active podcasts. But by active, they mean, they went about 12 episodes. And most podcasts that get started last about, again, depending on who you talk to, about 5 to 12 episodes. And then they fizzle out. They just shut off. They're still up on iTunes. They're still up on your podcast player. You can still find them and listen to them in many cases, unless they just can't pay for their website or whoever they're hosting through. They're still out there on the interwebs and on iTunes, but they're no longer producing because many people get started in something, podcast, blog, you name it, and they fizzle out because they realize, dang, there's some work here. YouTubers, look how many YouTubers there are now compared to when I first got started, when Gary Vee got started many years ago with a wine, I think it was Wine Video or Wine Media or whatever. And he was still going many, many years later. Many YouTubers got started and stopped. I'm one. I started a couple different YouTube channels and stopped for various reasons. But now I have the Men of Abundance podcast. Now I have the Business Owner Growth podcast that's evolved, and Men of Abundance has evolved quite a bit. And they both have associated YouTube channels as well for obvious reasons, because Google owns YouTube, and when you do videos, people find them. And so, listen, I have had an absolute blast having these conversations and recording these conversations and sharing these conversations with the world over the last 3.5 years. Last I checked, over 100 countries, people in over 100 countries have downloaded Men of Abundance to hear these conversations. And hundreds of thousands of downloads have happened. And it's just absolutely amazing that people are listening to these conversations and getting something out of it. I know because I get contacted through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, emails, all kinds of different ways, people contacting me and wanting to know more and just telling me how they're getting something out of the conversations, or many people contact me and they want to be on the show. Now, I don't accept everybody onto the show, and in the coming months, I'm going to be more selective on who I bring onto the show so that I can be sharing quality conversations with you. Now, I'm not saying any of the past conversations were not quality. They were, and they are. And you should go back. I encourage you to go back and listen to many of them. But what I am saying is that I'm going to be more selective and make sure that everyone I bring on does not just have a message and something to sell, because let's face it, everybody has an agenda. Everybody has something that they're selling, even if it's not monetary. They're selling their story. They want people to hear their story so that that message and that kick in the gut moment can help other people. That's the whole intent, right? But I'm going to be very much more selective in that what their story is, what their kick in the gut moment is, what their message is, and more importantly, the most important part, how are they paying it forward? Are they paying it forward? And if they are, how are they paying it forward? That is extremely important to me, because I want to make sure that I'm talking with people who are not only successful, but abundant. And the difference in my mind between being success is what you do for yourself and your immediate family. You live in the area you want to live in, you're paying your bills, you're able to change the tires on your vehicle when they need to be changed, you're driving the vehicle that you want, or at least a vehicle that's reliable. Look, this is success to me. Success isn't the Lamborghini and the mansion and all that kind of stuff. Success is being able to provide for your family and have enough time to enjoy that life. Now, being abundant means being successful and paying it forward and sharing your time, treasures, and talents with others. That is to me what being a man of abundance is not just being successful in yourself, but being able to pay it forward. Now, I want to mention some of the top 10 or the top 10 episodes that you may want to go back and listen to on Men of Abundance. And these are the top 10 of all time episodes from at this point, 300, right at 300, 299 episodes. These are the top 10. At number 10 is the journey from destructive fast food addiction to health significance. That is episode 079. So you can go to menofabundance.com/079. Number 9 is the men who put woobies on your feet with Anthony. That's episode 060. So at number 8 is creating your system to a life of abundance with Cameron Schwab. That is episode 293. At number 7, flipping your life to a life of freedom and abundance with Shane Sams. That is absolutely an amazing conversation. You definitely want to go check out if you're at all interested in flipping your life and starting an online business. That is episode 089. At number 6, when you realize you're a square peg being shoved into a round hole. That is episode 030 with Dave Chasson. Number 5, being prepared to make a shift in your life with David Bain. That is episode 081. Number 4 is Siberian Immigrant and Friends, Changing the Face of the Housing Landscape with Deuce Pesic. This is episode 026 and 027 because that conversation went so long, we actually had to I cut it in half and made 2 episodes out of that one conversation. And that has been consistently, you see 026, one of the earliest episodes, that has consistently been in the top 5. So you want to go listen to that one. At number 3, when dropping out of college seems like the right thing to do with John Cornelius. That is episode 014. Again, a very early episode and always in the top 5. At number 2, getting your message heard and sharing your life of abundance with Michael Hudson. That is 098, episode 098. I've got his book as well. Great book, great conversation. And at number 1 is Un-F Yourself to Live an Amazing Life of Abundance with Gary John Bishop. Absolutely stunning and absolutely amazing conversation. That is episode 188. So there you go, guys. That's the top 10 episodes out of 299 episodes. Now, not all of them are conversations. Some of them are just me talking and sharing stuff with you, but most of those are conversation episodes, and obviously those top 10 are conversations that I will have listed in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about trying to write those down and write those numbers down. I'm going to have all of them listed in the show notes so you can click on them one by one and go through each one of them. And please, leave your comments, leave a rating and review. I'm looking at the rating and reviews right now. I have, at this point, 86 ratings and several reviews, multiple 5-star ratings, a few 4-star ratings, and a couple 2-star ratings, but no comments on the 2-star ratings. Listen, if you're going to leave a comment or a rating, that is, if you're going to leave a rating, please leave a review. Just because I want to know what you're feeling, what you're getting out of the conversations, and what you're getting out of the show. If you don't like the show, what is it about the show that you don't like? If you're going to rate something and you're not going to leave a comment, then you're either a troll or you're just a dick. And either one's not cool. All right. So be cool, man. If you don't like what's going on, then at least give me a chance to decide if I want to make a change. Let me know what you don't like about it. That would be very, very helpful. And once you listen to any of the episodes that you're listening to, be abundant in your actions and pay it forward by sharing Men of Abundance with others, because that's how Men of Abundance has gotten around to downloaded in over 100 countries at this point. Just 100% by word of mouth. I've used absolutely no paid advertising in the last 3.5 years. It's all word of mouth. It's the guests sharing it out. It's the listeners sharing it out, and other people talking about it. When I used to drive Uber and Lyft when I was in Hawaii, before I left Hawaii, I used to have these little placards in the back seat, and it said, listen to my podcast, and had the logo, and people used to always ask me about it. I made some amazing connections while driving Uber and Lyft. That's my favorite thing that I got out of that whole experience, was all of the amazing conversations, especially in Waikiki, because we get tourists there from all over the world. Australia, China, a lot from Japan, and everywhere else. It's just absolutely amazing. But I was able to connect with those folks, and some of them were able to go back to their countries and share Men of Abundance, which was freaking amazing. Totally awesome. But listen, I appreciate every single one of you. Now, there are some changes on the website that I want to share with you. And that is, well, not just the website, but also on your podcast player. Because now I've been using podcast websites from the very beginning. That's why my website looks so freaking amazing, and I get so many comments on my website in general just because of how amazing it looks compared to other podcast websites, especially, for instance, compared to my business owner growth podcast. My business owner growth podcast is hosted on Anchor, and it's just a small little page. There's nothing really to it, and I did that on purpose for a specific reason, which I won't get into that here. But I started Men of Abundance with John Lee Dumas. He was my mentor. He got me started, and at the same time, him and Mark Asquith and some others were building podcast websites. So I went all in, had them build my website, and they've evolved over the last couple of years. And they're doing some amazing things over there. So recently, they changed over to the new podcast player and the new podcast platform called Captivate. And it is blowing up my marketing. I'm getting more downloads. I'm getting more engagement. And it's because of the podcast player that you will see on your podcast player, where the audio is playing. You see some options there. You see the logo. You see the title of the show. You see the speed that you can, set the speed at 1 time, 1.5, 2. So you can speed up my voice if you care to do so. You see the little 3 dots with the triangle. You click on that. You can share the episode right from there on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You click on the little notes thing. You can look at the show notes. That's where you can go and look at any of the content. Look at the timestamps, which has to be fixed. I apologize for that. That does have to be fixed. But you've got the links in there and everything right there that you need. And then you've also got another little arrow that you can click on, so you can go there and listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, download the episode, Pocket Cast, Overcast, and you can just grab the link and go from there. So there's so much more to come for Captivate and for podcast websites. I wanted to give a shout out for them because John Lee Dumas, Mark Asquith, and the whole team over there at Podcast Websites and Captivate they're just absolutely amazing. I can't say enough about them. If you want a professional podcast, for those of you out there who are podcasters and thinking about being a podcaster, if you want to go pro, then you absolutely must get started with Podcast Websites and Captivate. Get a hold of me. I'll get you in contact with the team over there. They're absolutely amazing. And if you just want to start a podcast for free and don't want to put much into it, and you just want to put your content out there on audio and don't really care much about the show notes looking absolutely amazing and all that stuff, then use Anchor. It's absolutely free. Get a hold of me. You don't need a class. I'll show you how to do it. It's super simple. But that's the other thing that I like about podcast websites, is because they have tons of resources in there to show me how to monetize, how to, everything you need to know about podcasting is at podcast websites with their resources. And then they have a support team that is bar none, 100%. along with the Facebook group and everything else. Anyhow, that's some of the changes, and some other updates for Men of Abundance is, as moving forward, as I already said, I'm going to be very selective on the guests that I have. Right now, I'm booked out into April for conversations. I've got about 20 episodes or 20 conversations already recorded that I'm going to be pushing out. I had been doing Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now I'm going to be doing several a week so I can get caught back up, because I did have an issue a while back with iTunes. And then I got my business and marketing strategies business. I started ramping that up back in November. So now at the time of this recording, we're towards the end of January, and I am jam-packed busy. I am absolutely loving it. In fact, now I'm at the point to where I'm starting to train other coaches to do what I do and how I do it, and use the same system that I use to get their own coaches. In fact, I'll even help them close some of their own coaches, their first couple of clients, so that they can start doing what I do, because there is a huge need for business and marketing strategists out there with all of the businesses that I work with. Absolutely amazing career field, and very lucrative and very, very rewarding. I love it. So I'm wanting to share the wealth on that. More about that, if you want to go over to Business Owner Growth Podcast, subscribe to that. I'll be talking more about that over there. But listen, guys, I absolutely greatly appreciate every single one of you. And when you are sharing Men of Abundance, when you're being abundant in your actions and you're paying it forward and you're sharing Men of Abundance, that's going to come back to you. I promise you it's going to come back to you. When you give to others, you get more of what you give. That's just the way it works. Don't try to understand it, and just know that it's going to happen. And now understand this, it may not come back the way you envisioned it, but you are going to get, it's going to come back into your life. All right. More what you give, you're going to get in return. Now, when you are sharing Men of Abundance with others, don't discriminate. What I mean by that is it's Men of Abundance, yes, but it's men in general. About 48%-ish of the listeners are women. And they're getting a lot out of these conversations, I know, because many of them have contacted me. In fact, a spouse contacted me years ago, and that's why I started the whole coaching side of Men of Abundance and evolved into business and marketing strategies with abundance mindset that I trickle in there as well. So all that's over on Business Owner Growth. But I greatly appreciate every single one of you for listening. I appreciate you for your comments, and I appreciate you for sharing Men of Abundance with others, being abundant in your actions and paying it forward. Absolutely amazing, and I greatly appreciate you for it. Now, go out, live your life of abundance. And guys,